And on the 10th day, the White House said, let there be lights.
Our position is clear. Turn on the lights, stop threatening default, pay our bills.
But right now, as Republicans and the president are meeting face-to-face to hash out their differences, turning on the lights and ending this partial government shutdown does not seem to be on the table in the Republican Party's new pitch to extend the debt ceiling, or at the very least, it's not the main course in the pitch. Let's bring in our political panel to talk about it. CNN political commentator and columnist for the New York Times, Ross Douthat, president of the Center for American Progress and former senior advisor to Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius Neera-Tanden. That's a mouthful. And Chief, the whole predicate there. And Chief Washington correspondent for Yahoo News, Monsieur Olivier Knox. Thank you so much for being here. So Ross, I'm wondering, as a Republican at the table here, your thoughts on this deal. Okay, extend the debt ceiling. I understand that.
I'm going to ask Olivier to translate my answer into French, speak it in French, and let it. So basically,
but not open the government. That's the thing. Why not open the government?
I'd say the hope today for those of us on the political right of center who think that perhaps, just perhaps, the Republican Party doesn't really know what it's doing in this particular moment. The hope is that.
But you want it to, and you want it to thrive.
Who wanted to thrive is that this gambit by Boehner leads to a situation where, perhaps through Senate Republicans attaching a continuing resolution, perhaps through some card that's so far up Boehner's sleeve we haven't seen it pulled out yet, that first we get this 6-week extension, then you get a continuing resolution, then you get negotiations, and so on. The problem is, basically, for Republicans, that if you lift the debt ceiling for 6 weeks, but continue the government shutdown, you're basically saying, well, I'm going to give up on that whole murder-suicide thing and just concentrate on slitting my own wrists, right? Because that's the basic politics of it. And, there are lots of conservatives, not that many, but, it's a big country, so there are lots of conservatives who think this is a good strategy for Republicans to follow. They are all mistaken. There is no evidence that shutting down the government helps the Republicans in any way, and it's not going to achieve any objective that is worth the political damage. It's possible, there'll be some concession at some point from the White House, but nothing that's worth this kind of fight. So anyway, I've said enough. I think I'll just.
Okay, you can exhale.
I can.
Olivier, the 5% poll number. The American people, according to a new AP poll, only 5% of us approve of the job Congress is doing. You don't find that as contradictory with the 98% re-election or recidivism rate that I do.
Right, that's right. Congress now is obviously less popular than venereal disease. We've established that a long time ago. But now, this 5% number is really important because unless people turn on their own congressman, in other words, if that number means, man, I hate your representative, I wish she acted more like mine, she's great, that poll number is essentially meaningless. Where it could pose a problem is for gubernatorial candidates in big, diverse states who have to run a more centrist campaign, who might be inclined to run against Congress. It matters there, and it matters in some Senate races. But as a pure House number, it doesn't really mean that much to me.
So Neera, in a year after a presidential election, as we all know, or political geeks know at least, these are the important races that everybody's watching. There's New York City's mayor, but then on a broader level, there is New Jersey governor. This year. There is also a New Jersey Senate race, not normally the case. And then there is Virginia governor.
Right.
Is this affecting those races in any way that you can see?
Yeah, I think Terry McAuliffe has actually moved into
Democratic candidate.
The Democratic candidate in Virginia has actually moved up into a almost double-digit lead.
Because of this, you think?
And it's over the last week or so, so a lot of people are pointing to the government shutdown. He was a few points ahead. Now he's moving to 9, 10, 11 points ahead. So I think that's an issue. I think what you're seeing, I hope what we'll see in the next few days is more and more Republican senators who do run statewide, and I think this goes to Olivier's points, Republican senators recognize that a government shutdown is a horrible disaster for them. It's hurting the brand of the Republican Party, which is at 28%, lowest level in decades, and that really redounds negatively to them. So my hope is that Republican senators will join with Democrats to have an end to both of this hostage taking, and that you'll see because you hear from Republican governors, Chris Christie, who's running right now,
Yeah, he's a 2-1 lead over.
2-1 lead,
great.
and
This
is
is great for Chris
attacking
Christie,
the House
right?
Republicans. Yes, because he's
Chris
attacking
Christie
the House
has
Republicans.
brand separation from the congressional party in a way that Ken Cuccinelli doesn't. So for Christie, if you're a New Jersey voter, you say, you know, he's even less like those other guys than I thought he was to begin with.
But why is he less like them? Because he is saying the House Republicans are wrong on the government shutdown. That is helping his brand because he's with the American people with saying this is insanity.
So where does the party go from here? What's the way out of here that would allow John Boehner to save a little face, keep his job, and also get us out of this?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking.
I have
because
no idea.
obviously, I'm not saying. By the way, I don't care about any politician saving face or keeping his job. But that's obviously an important
part. The way out of
this
this ultimately is there's some sort of fig leaf of concessions at some point that's mixed in with continuing resolutions that get passed with a mix of Democratic and Republican votes. The issue here is that Boehner clearly feels like he can't go all the way down that path yet without basically having his party in the House fall apart around him.
That's what
what I don't know is, it's not that the path is unclear. I don't know what the tipping point is where it becomes politically viable for Boehner to take that path. And maybe this gambit with the 6-week extension is the path, and I'm pretty sure there are people around Boehner who think it is, but I'm not sure how that works.
I think actually Ross sort of charted the path forward pretty well in his first answer, which is you're already hearing Senate Republicans talking about attaching spending measures that would reopen the government to this debt ceiling lifting bill, which we haven't seen yet, so let's hold off on that. But you're talking about a situation in which the House could vote on its own pure version of this legislation, goes to the Senate, Senate Republicans attach measures reopening the government. It goes back to the House. Now Speaker Boehner's hands are essentially clean, and he can go back and say, look, we're up against the White House and both parties in the Senate. We've got to kind of take this hit.
And you put it on the floor, and Democrats and some Republicans vote
Democrats power it to passage, not Republicans.
He needs, and the truth is, the reason why we are having the time that we are is because he doesn't have 218 votes for anything over the last week or so. He's going to need Democratic votes, and so hopefully Democratic votes with Senate Republicans.